can you see my screen?
We can, yes.
Great, then we'll start with the presentation. Just a second. Okay, so we can start. Steven, you are ready?
Yes, I am. I'm ready.
Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to today's session, Power BI from Zero to BI Hero. Steven and I are really very pleased that we can share our knowledge with you how easily you can start developing Power BI reports on top of Dynamics 365 Business Central data, even if you are not a hardcore developer, let's say. So my name is Renato Fajdiga, and I'm coming from Croatia. I have more than 5 years of experience in implementing Dynamics NAV and Dynamics 365 Business Central. As Raz told, I'm also a Microsoft MVP, Microsoft Certified Trainer, and currently I work as a product manager for Dynamics 365 Finance. Also, I work as a trainer in Platan together with Steven.
Hello, my name is Steven Renders. I'm also a consultant and a trainer. I've been delivering consultancy and training for more than 15 years. I'm also an MVP. I'm more of a technical person. I started out as a developer. That's why to combine my technical knowledge and expertise with the fun of creating Power BI reports. And today we're going to try to explain what are the typical steps involved in achieving that goal.
Okay, thank you, Steven. So, could you please continue?
All right, so I'm working for Platan in Belgium, and although I'm mainly a technical trainer, we also have a program which is Business Central Booster, which is a completely online program where you can find lots of functional trainings at the moment. And there's an essential, a premium pack. It's completely online. And I wanted also to announce that this summer, usually I have a little bit of time off. I will also be preparing a booster version for Power BI. So have a look at it, website businesscentralbooster.com. Because you will find also some Power BI materials on there very soon.
Okay, thank you, Steven, for this introduction. And regarding our agenda for today, we will start by describing what the Power BI is, what are the key concepts, and what tool you can use in which scenario. After that, we will start looking at how you can connect Dynamics 365 Business Central and Power BI. What are the prerequisites and options to do and to do as a user. After that, when you are happy with creating the Power BI reports, you will see how you can publish these reports to the Power BI service and use it later in Dynamics 365 Business Central. Last but not least, we will show how you can compelling scenarios you can use to integrate your Dynamics 365 Business Central with the Power BI, Power Automate, and Power Apps. So one complete scenario from Dynamics to Power Platform. When speaking about Power BI, I would like to point on two different scenarios. The first one is the Power BI Desktop. Power BI Desktop is a free tool which you can use to get the data from Dynamics 365 Business Central. Either this data is in the cloud or on-premise. After that, you can modify or transform data inside the Power BI Desktop, create powerful measures and calculations on top of that data, so you don't need to develop everything inside the Business Central. And then what also you can do is integrate these reports, which you create in Power BI, with Power Apps. And in that way, bring entirely new dimension to the Power BI. When my data and reports are okay, the next logical step will be to share my reports with colleagues inside my organization. And I can do that by publishing my Power BI report to the Power BI service. In that Power BI service, I can create various dashboards, which can be created from the multiple reports. Then I can create a multiple workspace and combine all these various dashboards, reports, data sources in one application, which I can easily share with my colleagues from the organization. And all those reports and data are extremely secure because we are using, of course, Office 365 authentication. And this is what the complete Power BI solution is. It will offer you powerful reports, charts, security, filters, bookmarks, and Q&A. So for example, when you will be able to ask some questions about the data from the Business Central. Power BI and Business Central. So as I said, no matter where your data is stored, either in Dynamics 365 Business Central in cloud or in Dynamics 365 Business Central on-prem, you can create and build reports in the same way. After you create your report based on Dynamics 365 Business Central, you can upload this report to the cloud, so Power BI service, and there you can use common language queries where you can ask Power BI questions about your data. Also, you can integrate reports with the Office 365 from the Power BI service, or you can use one of the predefined report templates for Dynamics 365 Business Central SaaS. After you are good with your reports in Power BI service, you can embed those reports on various external services, such as the web, or use these reports on your mobile. Later, we will show you how you can integrate these reports inside the Dynamics 365 Business Central. And this brings us to the first demo, where Stephen will show you how you can create queries, use it in the Power BI, and so on. So Stephen, feel free to share your screen.
All right, I will do that. Just selecting my desktop. Can you confirm if you can see Business Central?
Yes, I can.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to demo what we need to do to be able to create a report in Power BI based on Business Central data. I will do that in 4 different steps. The first step will be creating queries, then exposing the query as a web service. Next, creating the reports in Power BI desktop, meaning importing and transforming the data, and then publishing the report so that in the end we can go to powerbi.com, for example, and then we can see kind of the results. Now, the report I have here is a very simple report based on the Business Central demo data, and it's called the order intake. So imagine you have a customer or someone would like to see the order intake that might be aware on how to present it. Of course, the first question I would then ask is what do you mean with order intake? And in this very simple example, customer told me, well, actually the order intake is whatever we have currently in the sales lines. So here I'm in Business Central in the sales lines screen, and would like to be able to see in a report whatever is on the sales, but not yet posted or shipped. So all of the open amounts. I'm working here with 4 sales orders with the demo data, and the goal is to be able to present them by quantity, by amount in different ways. Now, to be able to get started, we will actually need to first go into the development environment and create a number of different objects. The first thing that you need to do is you need to create some query objects. And let me show you a very simple one. You need to think about the different data elements that you require in your reports. For the order intake, that will be the order intake itself, and maybe some customer information, and maybe some vendor information. And my recommendation would then be to create these elements or data sets as different queries. So what we're looking at right here is a very simple query where I'm actually fetching information from the customer table. Every table you would like to use, you can add it as a data item in the query objects, and then within the data item you can add all of the different columns that you require. I've kept it very simple. I'm fetching the customer number, the customer name, and the city. And as you can also see here at the right side, you can see the field names as they come out of Business Central or as they are in the table. But in the left side, I'm using my own name. So the names you see here on the left side will be the names the query will return, and will also be the names that you will see in Power BI when you import the data. I have done that for customers. I have also done that for items. So here I have a small item query, item number, description, unit cost, unit price. And then we have the order intake query itself. Going to try to keep it very, very simple. And in this case, I will be able to fetch all the information I require from the sales line table. I'm also going to filter this table using a data item table filter, a property to only fetch items. So I'm not interested in resources or GL accounts or anything else. And I'm also making sure that not only I have the quantities and the amounts, but I'm also able to link this to the items by fetching the item number from the sales lines and the customer number, so I can also fetch it to the customers. And the goal is to create these queries to only put in the columns you really require, nothing more, nothing less. We can always add more columns later. Something very interesting to also mention is that there is a new property available on query objects, which is the data access intent, which I usually set to read only, especially for reports and for Power BI. This will increase performance because when Power BI will be refreshing data, it means that Business Central knows the query is only meant to read information, and you might be redirected to one of the mirror databases that every Business Central SaaS tenant has. So the load will not be on the production system, but on a copy, which is maybe a couple of seconds behind the live database. So really, really interesting to do that. Now, once we have created the queries, the goal is to be able to import them in Power BI Desktop. And I've tried to summarize that here in this slide. So we need different tables, and we have an effect table, which in my case will, for example, be the order intake. So typically in the middle, I put the table with the facts. Facts are the numerical data I would like to visualize and analyze. And surrounding the facts, I will import dimensional tables or lookup tables. It all depends on how you would like to name these. So the facts will be order intake. A dimension can, for example, be customer. Another dimension might be item. So in the end, my data model will look a little bit like this one. And I need to switch over to a different report. Voilà. Here I am. This will be the data sets I would like to create for the order intake report, where I have the fact table in the middle, which is named order intake, surrounded by other interesting tables like customers, items, a date table, and maybe also other tables if I would require them. And we are following here a star schema where you have one table in the middle surrounded by other tables, which makes the report easier to read, easier to understand. It also makes it faster. And you can also look at these tables or queries like little blocks of Lego that you create. And the next time I need to create another report, I might be able to reuse a lot of these blocks of Lego. Another approach would be to create queries based on a certain report. But if you do that, you might not be able to reuse them. Now, once I have the queries created in my development environment, of course, I still need to publish them and make them available for Power BI. And the way to do that is to publish them as web services. So as a developer, all you need to do is use a little snippet, create kind of an XML file in which you say which queries you would like to have published as a tenant web service in Business Central. So here I say this query needs to become a web service. The item query needs to become a web service. The order intake query needs to become a web service. And by generating this kind of an XML file, I can then very simply publish my extension. And the web services will become available within Business Central. So if I would now go to Business Central because I already published it, I can very simply go to the web services page. And in the web services page, I should see all of my queries that I published. I'm going to sort them on object ID. And then will normally be here at the top. And here I have my queries, which I created for the order intake report. What I typically also do sometimes is use a small prefix in the query name that makes it easier to find them in the list of all of these queries. These queries are now available in my Business Central instance. You can see they have these data URLs. You are able to access them via these URLs, but you don't have to. The next step would now very simply be to go into Power BI Desktop and then import my data. And you can very simply do that using the Get Data button, then select More. And next, when the pop-up window opens, go to the Online Services and select Business Central. So this will be a way to connect directly to your Business Central instance running in the cloud. When you do so, you will probably be prompted for a login. You can use the same login that you use for Business Central itself, your Office credentials. After you do that, that login is cached, so that's why it's not asking for these credentials again. I can see all of my environments. You can see I have a live environment and 2 sandboxes. You can open the environment you would like to use, and then you will see the companies, and within the companies, you can then find all of the queries. So here you can see them. You can very simply select the query or queries that you would like to import, and then click on Load or Transform. Don't want to go too deep. Transforming data is a possibility. And then you can, while Business Central is loading the data, do lots of transformations, or you can simply load and do some transformations later if you would like to do that. In the end, what you will get are some queries which are imported in Power BI Desktop itself, which you then need to relate. So you need to create some table relations linking the order intake to customers and linking the order intake to items. That's why it's important to, for example, have the item number in the items table, but also in the order intake table, and the same for the customer number. Once you do that, you can create these relationships. There will mostly be one-to-many relationships because you have one customer with multiple facts and one item with multiple facts. When the data is then connected, the next thing to do is visualize the data, which is actually a matter of practicing. I typically call that clicky, clicky, draggy, droppy. So you can select some fields, put them in the report canvas, and drag in all of the other fields you would like to have. And you can very easily switch the visuals here. I have already done that. I have used a number of visuals to be able to visualize my data here by customer name, by amount, by city, using all different types of filters and slicers. And as you can see, I also have the aquarium right here, which is a custom visual that you can use by selecting these buttons. So I can import or get more visuals, for example, from App Stores, and there you will find hundreds of more extra visuals that you have available, and you can choose from. The aquarium is always nice to demo. I never use it in real life, but it's nice to have. I can get an overview of the report. I can click to interactively and dynamically filter and slice and dice the data. I can look at it by quantity, by amount. You can create as many pages as you would like to create. There are many possibilities to filter, but once you have created this report and you are ready with it, the next step would then be to click on the Publish button. And once you publish the report, it will be completely uploaded to a Power BI Online. And if I switch over, for example, here to Power BI Online, I can see exactly the same report. So right now it is published. It's available on powerbi.com or on the Power BI service, ready for me to consume within Power BI. Of course, there are many other possibilities too. The next step would now also be to integrate the report and embed it within Business Central. And there are also some other capabilities of which I will come back and talk about a little bit later. Right now, I'm going to give the word back to Renato. He can show you the next steps within Business Central. Later, I will come back and talk about other integration possibilities. And I know I might have been a little bit fast on developing this report, but there is some time and some Q&A left. So if you have any questions about that too, I can come back and talk about it also. But now I give the word back to Renato.
Thank you, Steven. Thank you, Steven, on these really powerful examples on how you can bring Dynamics 365 Business Central data to the Power BI. And now I will continue where you stopped and go with Power BI applications. So just to go to presentation. Okay, the Power BI application. In general, Power BI applications out of the box brings the predefined reports and analysis to the Power BI. All that you need as a user is just provide the URL, and then you can use the URL of your tenant, and you will get the data inside the Power BI. Out of the box, we have the three Microsoft applications for Dynamics 365 Business Central SaaS. And once you have the data, you can modify these reports to your needs, or you can create your own Power BI applications. And in that way, you will be able to share reports and dashboards with your colleagues very easily. All these Power BI applications, to be able to share it and use it, you need to create a workspace and then bring the reports and other elements to your workspace and then publish it as an application. So let's continue to the demo and to see how we can work with Power BI application. Now I will switch to my screen. And here in Power BI, when I'm logged in inside my Power BI, what I can do, I can see your reports which you made, Stephen. And I see that these reports are in my workspace, and these reports are now available for me. But I want to use these reports as a part of my application and as a part of Power BI applications and workspace. So to be able to do this, I will go to workspace and I will create a new workspace. Here I will get create workspace screen where I can upload the image for this workspace, give it a name and the description. So let's say I will call it sales workspace. Sales workspace. I see that this workspace is available for use. So I see that it's available. I type what is the name of the workspace, and now I'll click on the save. Okay. In a few moments, when Power BI do its job, I'll get the empty workspace here inside my sales workspace, and I can click on the new and add some reports, paginated reports, dashboards, dataset, data flows, upload a Power BI X file, and so on. So, and then in this case, I will create reports from the scratch. But what is my idea is to use one of the Stephen's reports inside my sales workspace. So I will go back to workspaces, and on the top, I have my workspace. And here I can see, for example, when it loads, there's a little bit issues. Okay, now when it loads the data, I can easily save as and move this and copy this customer orders intake inside my workspace. So let's wait for a second. It's really slow today.
Okay. It's usually Murphy's law, huh? When you present,
yes.
It's always slow.
Okay. I'll try to refresh it. I'll try to reload the complete page. Okay, if there is some question in the meantime, we can see it at the chat and maybe answer it while we are waiting this to load. Okay, and then
I see a question coming in. I'll try to answer that in the meantime.
okay.
The question is, how do we connect Power BI Desktop with Business Central on-premises? Well, we have different options. As you might have noticed, when you do a get data in Power BI Desktop, you can see the Business Central connector. There's also one for SaaS. However, that one you can only use if on-premises, that one you can only use if on-premises you're only also working with Office 365 authentication, which many on-premises customers don't. And instead, you can also use the OData connector. So if you can connect to your service tier, which is hosting the OData web services, you can connect to that, and that way you can also fetch on-premises data.
Okay, thank you, Steven, for this explanation. Now I get my list of all available reports, data sets inside my and dashboards inside my workspace. And what I can do is use this customer orders intake and save a copy. When I click save a copy, it will ask me and it will show me all my available workspaces, and I will click my sales workspace, and then I will click on save. Okay, my report is now in my dashboard, and let's, for example, also do with this customer sales, and also copy this report to my sales workspace. Okay, and now let's check my workspace. So I will click on the workspaces and sales workspace. Okay, and here I see my two reports. I will just close this. And what now I can do, easily click create app, yellow button. I'll click on it. It's a sales workspace, so I will leave this as it is, and then I will say I can upload again the image, change the color of the application. So for example, this one, and publish the app. Okay, it will ask me that it will say that it will take a few minutes. So I will publish the app. And in a few seconds, I will get my application. And now I can go to this application. And in a few seconds, I should see all my reports inside my application. So this is my application. I see customers orders intake with 2 pages inside this report. So this is what Steven developed for us. And also here I can see customer sales report. And if I click down, it will show me the same, but only with, because it is the same report, but only with different names. Okay, now when this is, when this application is created, I can go back to my, hide my navigation pane, or I can go to the applications. And here now I will see my application, which now I can share with my colleagues. But what I also want to show you is that you can use standard Microsoft out-of-the-box applications. So if I click Get these applications, Inside my organization, I see my application, so Sales Workspace. But if I can navigate to the apps and type Dynamics 365 Central, I can use one of these three from the Microsoft. And for example, let's go with the sales, and I will click Get It Now. Okay, in a few moments, it will ask me to install this application. Yes, I want to install this. And in a few moments, I will receive the message that application is ready, and I will click Go to Application. Okay, I don't want to show this again. Okay. So this is my application with reports, which comes in this Microsoft application. Now I need to connect this application to my data. So I click on Connect Your Data. I need to enter the company name. So I'll log in again to my Business Central. Okay, I see that my company name is Kronos NL. So I will just type Kronos NL, and my environment is the sandbox environment, and I will click Next. Okay, I will sign in. It will ask me for my credentials. Okay, and after the refresh is done, and is over, it will update these reports with real data from my Business Central. So here now I see something different on my charts. If I go here, I can see all these reports inside my application, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central Sales. Okay, so maybe your question will be, how can I customize this? If this is possibility to customize this, yes. If I go to Microsoft Dynamics 365, back to the applications, I have this pencil and I can click Edit Application. And in a few seconds, I will get all these reports shown as a workspace. And then I can easily just modify each of these reports. For example, change the color to be in the same color of my logo or anything else. So when it loads the data, I can see all these reports. And this, now I can click on the edit. Okay, and here I will get the editor in Power BI service, where I will get all the visualization. I can change, for example, from the bar chart to the pie chart and so on. So this is all regarding the applications. So let's return to presentation. Okay. Embedded Power BI. Let's now deep dive into the embedding Power BI inside the Dynamics 365 Business Central. And the power of embedding Power BI inside this Dynamics 365 Business Central is in integrating Power BI reports inside Dynamics 365 Business Central Role Center or in the list pages as a part of the fact box page on the list. So here on the left side, we see the embedding Power BI report inside the list. And on the right side, we see the Power BI embedded on the row center. When you embed Power BI on either way from Dynamics 365 Business Central, you can modify the reports, enable or disable reports, which will be shown on the screen. So these are two ways of the embedding Power BI. And this is also embedded Power BI with the editor inside the Business Central. So you can easily edit existing Power BI reports inside the Dynamics 365 Business Central. So let's go to the demo. Okay, so we can close this. And I will navigate to my workspace. So my workspace. And for these examples, for the embedding Power BI, I created some small queries. Where I create query for my inventory by location. I use the data item ledger entry, where I get the data from this table. I also use the join to join the item table to the item ledger entry table, because I need the description field, because I like to work with the item description. Also, I use the locations because later query for the locations, because later I would like to have a map and see what is the inventory per my locations, but I need to know city and country region, and these fields I don't have on my item ledger entries. And on the same way as Steven showed you, I publish my queries as web services. Okay. Now when I go to my Business Central, if I go to the web services, here the list of the web services which I created for my reports will be listed. So this is locations, and here is inventory by location. Okay, and I created the Power BI report. So this is my Power BI report where I show the items by location on some map. And here I see, for example, item by location on a tree map, where then I can drill down to each location and see what items I have on each of these locations. For example, on the Rotterdam, okay, drill down. I see all my items which I have on this Rotterdam location, and then I can publish this report to the Power BI service. And I already did this. So here on my dashboard, on my workspace, I have report called items by location demo. And this is my Power BI report, which I created inside my Power BI desktop and published to the Power BI service. And these two are my pages inside my report. Now I want to see this inside my Business Central. And what I can do, I can go to Dynamics 365 Business Central and go to the items. Okay, we'll just wait to open the item list.
Mangi un'albicocchina.
On the right side, I have Power BI reports fact box. If you don't see it, you can always turn on it on actions, display, show hide Power BI reports. Okay. And to display the report here on my list page, I will click on Power BI reports, select the report, and I see my report from the Power BI here inside Power BI report selection. Here, Business Central automatically filter all reports which starts with the items, which contains items inside their name. So I see that this is filtered. If I remove this filter, I will see all my reports inside the Business Central, and I will enable this here and click on OK. Okay, and if in a few moments, I will get my Power BI report on the map, my report here inside the map. I will zoom this. So I see that my Aten table I have in Rotterdam, I have in Amsterdam, and so on. And now how I navigate on the item list, it will change the information for me where I have this item stored. So for example, if I select this one, I see that this Mexico I have on these 3 locations. Okay, and how can I enable this? On the items on my report, I need to put item number filters on all pages. And this is how Business Central will recognize what is the item number and automatically filter this report based on your selection. So for example, this item, some of these items are stored on the empty location, so it's not, they are not showed, but we see that this Amsterdam lamp, we have this on the Amsterdam location, on Rotterdam location. Okay, what you can do from here, navigate back. If you have enabled multiple reports, then you can navigate through the reports. You can expand the report. And here I see all my Power BI reports. And here I can use Power BI on the same way I'm using it here inside the Power BI. Okay, so this is how you can view the report. Let's now go to home screen. And if I scroll down a little bit to my Power BI report spec box, I will see the report, the Stevens report, inside my Power BI report part on the row center. Here, what I can do, I can, for example, manage this report. And if I expand this screen, what you will see that I have possibility to edit this report on the same way I can do it inside my Power BI service. So here, for example, I can use this amount of standing total and change, for example, to this pie chart. From there, I can save this. And when I close, confirm this, it will automatically apply this here inside my Power BI page part. Now I can go to the next report. Oh, I don't have any more. I will select one more. And for example, items by location, I will enable this report. Click on OK. And now I can go to the previous, for example, where I will get these reports. From here, you cannot navigate inside the pages inside the one report. So for example, here I have a report for the customer sales order intake. To navigate between the pages inside the report, I need to go to expand report. And then once it's open, then you can see different pages inside this report. So here I see different pages. Okay, so this is how you can embed the reports. Steven, do we have time for the Power Platform?
Yes, I will demo it from a high level point of view. So there's also some time left for Q&A because there is also a session after us about Power Apps. So let's have a small look. All right. So the idea is that I also try to give you a small overview on what you can do. To go a little bit further, because I know you can have an overview on how to create a Power BI report, how to embed it within Business Central, but there's actually much more that you can do. You can automate some decision processes, and you can actually link your Power BI reports, which are embedded in Business Central, with the functionality you have available in Power Automate and in Flow or Power Apps. So Power Automate is Flow and Power Apps. So how to do that? Let me demo that. And let me start with the end result. So here I have created another report, which is actually quite a simple report, fetching information from the item table. And on the item table, I have many fields. And if I have a look here, I'm fetching item number, description. I also have the inventory of the item, and I have the quantity on sales order, the quantity on purchase order. And these three fields give me the possibility to see per item what is the current inventory and what is the availability, because the inventory is what is actually financially in the company, but some of these items might already be promised on sales orders or might already be on purchase orders coming in. So the difference between inventory and availability, sorry, can't write very well with the mouse. Availability, I consider as being inventory plus whatever is on purchase minus whatever is on sales. And these fields can also be calculated within Power BI. So I have them here in the query. And when I import my data, I have the possibility to also create these measures. And what I'm actually doing right here is I have a measure that's going to count the number of items which currently have a negative availability. So if I go and have a look in the item availability query, I can see very easily I have the inventory, I have the availability. The difference between the two is that the availability is inventory plus purchase minus sales. And using a small measure within Business Central, I can calculate how many of the records here have a negative availability, how many records are there where the availability is smaller than 0, which is all very nice. I can put that also on the dashboard. I can publish the report, build the dashboard, and so on. But once you have these tiles on your report, and a tile is a number that you visualize using the card visual, you can then publish the reports. Let me go there. Voila. If I'm here in Power BI, once you publish that on a tile on a dashboard, you also have the possibility to create an alert. So you can manage alerts. For example, I would like to see whenever this number changes, so whenever the number of items with a negative availability is modified, And I can do that by selecting Manage Alerts and creating an alert for me. And there I can say, okay, whenever this value is above or below a certain threshold value, which in my case is 0, I would like to be notified and I will receive an email. And that's it, once every 24 hours or once an hour. And that's how far Power BI here can go. But of course, you can also use Power Automate or the good old the application formerly known as Flow. And here I can create a new flow by using the Power BI connector. And you can, for example, create a flow that connects to these alerts you have created on dashboards, and then you can catch them within Flow yourself. And by doing that, you can completely customize this flow. So instead of sending you a simple email whenever this data-driven alert is triggered, I can now also imagine using all different other kinds of steps. I could, for example, send a message to Teams, and if the availability of a certain item is below 0, I can ask someone to start to create a manufacturing process or a purchase order. So that's very nice. We can link it using Power Automate. And what is also interesting is that we can also use Power Apps. And for this, I have my other browser window if it wants to open. Here it is. Because Power Apps, once you are actually logged into Power Apps with the same account, which is also accessible, which also has access to Business Central, you can see your data sources. You can connect to, for example, Business Central, which is one of the connectors here in the list. It will also be able to show all of the APIs available. You can build the Power App. I've done that, so I have connected to here, and then I selected the items API, click on Connect, and my app was created, which in the end was actually an app that was built with a search screen, filter screen, a detail screen, edit screen. That's all very nice. And the next thing that you can then do once you have saved and published your Power App is you can go back to Power BI. And within Power BI, there is actually also a Power Automate or a Power Apps visual that you can use, which is right here. And using this Power BI visual, I can have Power BI connect to that Power App. And now I have embedded the Power App in the Power BI report. So giving the person who is looking at the data also the possibility to modify the data that they are looking at via Power Apps, which in that case I can then publish, and then I can also embed that Power BI report within Business Central. So there are many capabilities. You can work with Power BI, Power Automate, Power Apps. You can combine all three. I can also create a Power App and embed a Power BI tile in there. So there are actually a lot of possibilities on doing that. I just wanted to scratch the surface, but if you are eager to learn more about Power Automate and Power Apps and Power BI, you should just remember that you're able to connect all three and combine the advantages of all three applications. There's also a new kit on the block in the Power Suite, which is also going to be very interesting because there we will also be able to create a chat box or bots quite easily without coding. So that was a very short demo about the capabilities and how to link all three technologies, which I think leaves us now for about 5 minutes to do some Q&A or try to see if we can answer some questions we might have missed.
Okay. Thank you, Steven, for this nice and brief overview of how we can use our platform with Business Central. So let's take a look at the questions.
But I see one question coming in that I didn't answer yet, which is, for example, what are your experiences with OData and performance? So performance is actually very important. And what I can actually say is I will demo that because I had prepared that already, because there's a question in another session, which also related to that. So let me very quickly go and demo something. Performance is very important, but you should manage that in your query objects. So imagine, for example, that you are not only fetching information from the sales lines, but you would like to combine customers and ledgers, or you have tables that you would like to combine. What is actually very important is that you do it in the right way in the query itself. First, the data access intent, putting it to read-only will make sure that your data requests will be sent to the mirror, which is not the live database, but also contains the live data. If you need information from multiple tables, you can do that by nesting these data items. Make sure that when you do that, you set the correct link, you set the correct join, you only input the columns that you need. And what you can also do, for example, as you can see here, I am linking the sales headers with the sales lines, so the sales invoice headers and the sales invoice lines. And on certain columns, you can also use methods. So I'm not fetching the posting date, but I'm actually doing a group by year and a group by month, which I will be calculating subtotals of the amount and quantity, which avoids me having to load each and every sales line. It's very similar when you load ledger entries. So you can aggregate the data and you need to load less information from the system. So yes, Power BI reports can get quite slow, but it all depends on how you create the queries and join the data. I hope that answers your question a little bit. Another question I see coming in is, can we create Power BI reports using a security role model? Yes, you can. So the first thing that you need to know is that Power BI desktop using the Power BI connector or using the data connector will connect to the service tier. So whatever user authentication or is transferred, it will be the service tier that will decide if the user is able to refresh that data, yes or no. So NAV or Business Central security is implemented. However, what you can also do within Power BI desktop itself on the Power BI service is work with RLS, and RLS is row level security. So with small DAX scripts, you can create filters on your data. You can create roles in Power BI, and then you can decide who is able to see what information or what not. Is there a possibility to do an incremental refresh? Yes, there is. If you are using a Power BI Pro license, incremental refresh has recently been made available as a capability in Power BI Pro, so you can do that. Although on data it's quite limited, but there are some workarounds. And if you go to my blog, which is thinkaboutit.be, I have worked out a couple of examples of how you might be able to implement some kind of an incremental refresh, because by default the refresh is always a full refresh, and that of course might also save time and data going over the line. The blog URL, I will type it in, www.thinkaboutit.be. I think that's it. And if you go to my GitHub, github.com/srenders, you will also find some examples there. I hope that answers the question. Don't know if there are any questions I might have missed.
Thank you once again, Hanato and Stephen. Again, that was a very intensive session. You raced against the clock, and I think we've just meted towards the end of your time now. Are there any final things you'd like to mention, Hanato and Stephen?
Well,
Stephen,
I would like to say that just try it out. Don't be afraid to try it out. It's quite easy to use Power BI desktop and to import data. You can work with already defined queries. You can create your own, but don't be too afraid to do it. But keep in mind performance and the way that you create your queries.
Yes, and what I don't know, Stephen, if we mentioned that it is a good practice to use the queries instead of the pages.
Yes, my personal opinion too, because in queries you can do joins, you can do group bys, you can aggregate data, which you can't really do with pages. So pages typically are a little bit slower when it comes down to refreshing data from Business Central. Yes, queries should be faster. And on queries, you can also set the read intent, which will redirect all of the requests to not the live system, but one of the mirrors, which are always kept for the SaaS application. So that also removes some load from the production environment.